Welcome to CareerForce and More for Employers. This is session 7. I'm Liz Jennings, your host for today. So glad to have you all on. This series is a sessions of informational tidbits, you could say, webinars that give you all of the information that you need to know about CareerForce and More, Deed, MinnesotaWorks.net, and all of our employer services across the state and the people who can connect you with them. You can go to the next slide. There we go. This series, you can find out more on CareerForce and More for Employers. Just go to careerforcemn.com and then search for CareerForce and More for Employers. And all of the recordings are linked from our page. They go to the YouTube site for CareerForce MN. You can watch all of the sessions that you might have missed. You can share them with new employees in your office. Jessica, if you could go to the next slide. Over the past 8 weeks, we've been covering a bunch of topics. Disability hiring, veterans employment support, reaching new Americans. Last week, we talked about second chance hiring and federal bonding and other programs that's to support justice-involved hiring. I'm so glad that today we're going to have a conversation about strategic workforce initiatives. And next week, we wrap up the entire series with a discussion about finding all of those labor market data sources that you can use to better assess how you rank in wage data, in demographics. How do you find out more about your region and the workforce that you could potentially draw from? So glad to have you here. Let's go to the next slide and I'll introduce to you Jessica Miller, my colleague, Director of Workforce Strategy here at Deed and at CareerForce, a strong partner in all of this work. So I'm just going to turn it over to Jessica and let you lead our discussion the next 20 minutes. Thank you and glad to have you.
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. And thank you all for joining this morning. It looks like you've had quite a long list of partners and departments that you've heard from already. So I'm excited to be part of this group, and you're going to have a great time next session with labor market information. We heavily rely on our data to help inform all of the strategies that we work with. So it'll be a great start for you. As Liz mentioned, I'm Jessica Miller. I'm the Director of Workforce Strategy under the Economic Development arm of the agency. And the work that we do within my team is we work directly with employers like you on helping build out long and short-term strategies for recruiting and retaining talent, among other things. So we're going to dig into that today and talk about some of those things. We'll also be saving time at the end for any questions that you have on engagement, or maybe even just some ideas on a workforce issue that you're having right now. Just a little bit of a lag here there we go. All right, so what do? As you can see here, we've got this wheel of resources that we connect employers to, from grant opportunities to connecting to your industry chambers and partners, your economic development partners within your region, other state agencies, programs, education and training, and CareerForce partners, such as Liz and the rest of the team there as well. So what we do is we provide a one-stop shop for resources amongst the state and regional partners. We help, again, develop those tools for how are you seeking talent, what talent pools are you working with. We utilize data to help inform our choices, maybe within one pocket of where you are within the state. We can tell lots of information about who's living in the area, what wages are they currently bringing in? Do we have an influx of other talent? What are the labor trends telling us? And then we can help you build some strategies out that will maximize the talent that you have in your area. Here is a snapshot of our small but mighty team. As you can see, we work across the state. I will say we've got some changes in the team. Jessica O'Brien down in the southeast corner just took a job with the Department of Human Services, and she is serving workforce from our immigrant and refugee population. So we still have that strong connection, and we'll be partnering on working with her and the other people within DHS to build this strong talent pipeline for our immigrant and refugee population that are moving into the state to find quality places to live and work. And so if you're interested in being part of developing a system that will support this talent as they move into our communities and setting the stage and being a leader in that area, please do reach out and we can get you in touch with those partners that'll be working on those efforts. James in the northwest part of the state, he has a really strong passion and drive and experience with building diversity, equity, and inclusion systems and programs. Shayla up in the northeast part of the state, she has a background in healthcare as an RN, but then also in long-term care administration and HR. Della in the central part of the state, she's got a strong background in human resources and planning. Adeshewa in the metro area is a longtime state employee with lots of experience working with state programs and projects and policies. And then I have a background in labor relations, human resources, and learning and development. And so you can see this varied experience that we have among our team, and we work together to help build out strategies and capture those best practices across the state and share them with the people that we serve. So even though we focus really specifically on our regions and the individual needs of each region, because every part of the state is very different, we still collaborate a lot on how we are delivering services to our employers and sharing those strategies across the state. I will also put a plug. We do have 2 positions right now. So if you've got somebody in mind in your life who's really passionate about serving employers and people within the state, we'll be posting some positions. So our team, what do? We assist employers in increasing the number of applicants and new hires. We offer employer tools to assist in reviewing and enhancing current training programs. We work regionally with partners, both internal and external, to look at what are the long-term needs within the region for just training needs, or maybe it's talent needs, or we've got an influx of this particular demographic of people and how can we best serve them. So we're always looking ahead as well. We are focused very much on enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workplace. And then we develop programs that help employers be recognized as employer of choices in the regions. Here's a variety of some of the projects that we work on. We help develop sector partnerships, which are employer-led groups that come together within one sector and they talk about what are the specific needs of that sector and how can they collaborate to help develop solutions to those issues, because oftentimes we have partners, and as state employees, we want to go in and fix and we want to go in and help. And sometimes we get overexcited about helping that we don't always hear exactly what the solution is. And we might be solving a problem that with a solution that doesn't quite fit the needs. So it's important to us to really hear from employers within our state and understand what the true problem is and what the true solution is. And that's what the outcome of sector partnerships are. And so once we have employers that have identified the problem and then identified the solution, then we bring in all the partners and resources that we have available to us to help push those solutions forward. We currently have a group called the DEMI, which is the Diversity in Manufacturing, because we know that we need to start diversifying some of these sectors that need more people, and they need more people that look different than the typical person within that. So it could be women, it could be people from the BIPOC population, and so we have employers that are really working hard right now to determine what are some ways to diversify manufacturing. We also focus a lot about what the future growth opportunities are within the state. We know that biobusiness is a strong pathway that's growing within our state, and we know that the CHIPS Act is bringing in semiconductor manufacturers to our state, and that's growing. So we're working right now across the state with training partners, education, and also our workforce partners around the state to help develop training pathway programs to get people interested in those career paths, have access to training and education to be proficient in uh, being able to access these jobs that are going to be in demand and provide sustainable wages. We also lead up a statewide healthcare advisory board where we have employers that share, again, what are the challenges within healthcare and then what are those solutions. We focus a lot on Workforce Wednesdays. Workforce Wednesday is a webinar series that comes out the first Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. and it focuses on a variety of different workforce topics led by employers who share their best practices in different topics. And we'll talk more about that towards the end, and I'll share with you what's coming up here in July. So, and resident recruitment. Again, we think about what are some of the barriers that our talent populations within the state are coming up against, and then what can we do to help eliminate or bridge some of those barriers? And some of them are helping communities recruit people to their to live and work in their communities. So it could be helping develop infrastructure such as housing or childcare, which we know is a barrier right now for people to get back into the workplace. It could be creating welcoming communities where people who look different than the majority of the people that live in that community feel like they can live and be safe and access the things that they are comfortable with. It could be creating places with strong education or parks and trails and things to do outside. So we work with communities in that regard as well. Our consultation process. As we've dug in and we've been doing this work for some time, we've been able to identify 5 different areas of focus that all of the workforce strategies that we've been developing and working with employers on fall into. And you can see those here: recruiting and brand awareness, employee retention and career opportunities, onboarding, training, and upskilling, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then engaging community partners and stakeholders. So as we're working with employers, we start that relationship with building trust and getting to know employers, getting to know their strengths, getting to know where opportunities lie, what are the demographics of their workforce, what do wages look like, what do benefits look like, do those things that they offer employees currently match the needs of today's workforce. And then we review data. We look at what's the data saying for the location of your business. What does data say are the trends of people who are coming into your community to work? And what are the trends of the people that are leaving the community to work elsewhere? And how can you capitalize that on to keep your talent from leaving your community or your county? Do you have growth populations? What's the forecast for people coming in or youth? What are the youth numbers? What does unemployment look like in your area? What are the demographics of those who are unemployed or out of the labor force? And how can we be attracting those folks and setting up systems within your workplace that make those people want to come and work and stay within your community? Or again, looking at those barriers to employment and how are you engaged as an employer to help bridge those barriers or eliminate some of those barriers to employment. So after we've done that research and come up with some ideas and strategies and ways that you can have a quick access to talent, but then also be building out those strategies for long term, then we look at those strategies, and as an employer, we have a conversation and you choose, okay, what is the main priority of in areas of interest that you are wanting to focus on? Is it working with our veteran population? Is it working on establishing a transportation tool that will help bring people into your business? What is it? And then we identify those main priorities, and then we help bring resources together to drive forth those strategies. Then we work on implementing them and moving into action, which is sometimes the hardest part, is shifting into the action part. And after we've had some time where those strategies have been implemented, we review the progress. We look at how are things going? Is this strategy providing the outcome that you desired, or is it not? Do we need to change course a little bit? Do we need to add some strategies, or do we need to change the way that we thought that things were going to go? Do we need to adjust somehow? Then we make those adjustments and then we start back in. And the cycle just continues to go until you've met your workforce needs. So we've talked about barriers to employment. What are some of those barriers to employment? Here's a great example of some lists. Childcare. We know that that's a problem right now. How are you as an employer looking at these different barriers to employment and developing solutions to help? This is going to take everybody to help address these barriers and to find solutions. Unwelcoming workplaces and communities, family needs. We not only have childcare issues, but we have elder care issues. We have other caregiving issues where people are being taken out of the home. We know that childcare has limited spots available right now. So what happens to parents if their child is sick or they don't have childcare? They have to stay at home. And if it's not them, then it's their family or friends that are pulled out of the workforce to be able to care for those children. Criminal history, we've talked about second chance already. It sounds like you talked about that last month. Um, Bilingual or multilingual communications. Are you looking at creating a multilingual workforce that you already have in place? Are you adding um, people with second languages to your HR team? I've got employers that have found immense success with having a Spanish speaking person on their HR team and what that has done for their organization to bring in talent from that area. And then building from within. So say the population is Spanish speaking in your area, as far as an increase in demographics, you hire somebody on your HR staff, and then you start building your leadership team from that group as well, so that you've got somebody in leadership that is speaking the language that can help serve as a navigator for you. We're hearing more and more about mental health being an issue and HR being in a situation where they're feeling like they're more of a social worker. I'm hearing that all the time. So, how are you developing programs or resources to help mitigate some of those issues so it doesn't rely, so solving those issues don't rely on your HR team who aren't necessarily equipped to deal with some of those issues? Whether it's an employee assistance program or maybe even having somebody on call to come in and provide mental health services. We've seen employers that are bringing in psychologists to offer community um, or counseling sessions. Commute to training programs and commute to work. We know that transportation is a barrier. So, how are you involved in providing solutions for transportation? Could it be chartering a bus? Could it be working with independent transportation companies to go around and help pick up talent? I have employers in Southwest Minnesota who have a bus and they go and they pick up their talent and they bring them in. And some of them are on the bus for a chunk of time. So what do? They utilize that time to provide training. And then they get paid for their commute too, and they get training done at the same time. So think creatively of how you can help solve and bridge some of these barriers. All right, so now I want to dig into four big categories here and give you just a few ideas off the bat of ways that you can engage. So, recruiting and brand awareness, some things if you haven't thought about already. Are you developing multi talent pipelines? Are you thinking about youth? Are you thinking about underrepresented population? Out of state talent, are you even recruiting from across the border if you are close to the border in that regard? How are you engaging in your community right now? Are you building relationships with your community leaders? your chambers, your economic development professionals, getting out there and getting your name on different events. In my area, we have all kinds of street fairs at different times of the year, and employers are out there. They're donating their time, they're donating um, resources to these events, and they're making sure that they're getting involved so that people continue to see their name and how they're engaged in making their communities better. How are you utilizing social media? Social media is such an amazing tool for getting information about your business out there. And it's not only about who you are and your brand awareness, who's working for you and how do they like their jobs. You can highlight them as well. But it's also the fun things. What are the products that you're selling? Um, what what are the things that make your organization and your business unique? There are employers across the state who are using social media in fun ways to engage different demographics. And if you think of youth, they're using TikTok, they're using Snapchat, they're using Instagram stories in funny ways. There's one company that I was working with a while ago that makes these protective seat covers for vehicles. And they have videos where they will dump different things that stain on their product, and then they show how easy it is to clean up. But it's funny. They make it a fun type of thing, and now they're even like taking suggestions on what should we dump next, and it's kind of an event. There's another company in Southeast Minnesota. I'll call them out by name, Sage Glass. They have quite a big, extensive um, social media campaign that they do, and some of their most popular videos that get repeat views are the bloopers. They post their bloopers out there, which show them being human and show them how it can be fun to work there. How are you hosting? Are you hosting opportunities for people to come on site? Whether it's through the tour of manufacturing, if you're a manufacturer, bring people on site, open the door, lift the veil, and let people see what's happening within your work site. Let the people that work for your organization now show their families what they do every day by opening your doors and offering tours for people to come in and check it out. There's there is a way to get engagement in that regard. And then how are you recruiting? Check it out. Do an audit on, are there opportunities? Are there things that you're missing? What do your promotional materials look like? Do all the people on your promotional materials look the same? If they do, it's time to take a look at that and maybe make some changes. Because if you want to recruit from different populations, you should have different populations represented in your marketing materials. Employee retention and training. Can't speak enough about grow your own type of programs. We know that people like to work for organizations where they feel valued, where they feel like they have a seat at the table, and they feel like they can have a path forward. So oftentimes as a recruiting and retention model right now, we're seeing that part of that is to showcase I can start here, but I can end here, and these are the steps that I can take to get to this position. So people know exactly what they need to do to make it there. We've got models such as the dual pipeline, and we've got paid training models as well. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, being transparent with your goals, being open, having an opportunity where people can be heard, establish and build relationships with all the groups of people that are living within your areas. Invite them in, ask questions. I've got an employer in my area that I've worked with that knew that there was a large population from the Karen community that was moving in. And so what they did is they built a relationship with um, a a leader from that organization, and they had this person come onto their work site. They did an assessment and they said, hey, this would make a welcoming community or a welcoming workplace for our community if you did three things. Then that employer chartered a bus and brought people from that population in to do a tour, and then they had a hiring event, and they were able to hire, I think, like 10 people from that particular event that they did. So a great example of learning about a culture, creating a place where you're open for feedback, and then bringing people in to show them what you do and that they're welcome there, and then being able to make some hires out of that. Can't say enough about building community and building a place where people feel comfortable chatting. Become a local partner to address barriers to employment. I can't say that enough. I've talked about that a lot already, so I can move on from that one. Making sure to just build relationships with leaders from underrepresented populations. Again, I can't overstate that enough. And then be sure to be partnering with your local and regional education partners. Get into your high schools, get into your middle schools, even get into your elementary schools. We're seeing more and more of that as well with engagement opportunities. And don't be afraid also to offer to do mock interviews, offer to come in and talk about your sector or the work that you do within the classrooms as well. We've got workforce strategy resources on the CareerForce website. We've got blogs, we've got videos, we've got lots of things out there for you to review. Workforce Wednesday coming up in July on the 5th. We've got growing and expanding your business. We're going to talk about a variety of different grant opportunities, whether it's expansion grants, if you're looking to grow your business, or whether it's training grants, where we can help provide funding to enhance your workforce. And then finally, we've got another little snapshot here of all the different Workforce Wednesdays that we've done so far this year and what we have planned the rest of the year. If you go to the website, I know Liz has been busy popping links in the chat. You can check out all the recording of previous presentations and all the resources that we have for each session as well. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, lots of really, really good ideas. All right, 2 minutes to spare, Liz.
No, this is perfect, Jessica. You know, and I was thinking as you were going through the circle with all of the different ideas, you know, in many ways, it takes a lot of courage for a business to say, we're going to try something different now because the old model isn't working. And so it's getting the confidence, getting the courage, getting all of the leaders, the C-suite to say, yes, let's try something. How do you, what have you seen, Jessica, in getting that momentum within a business?
You're absolutely right. It does take courage to try new things. I have seen right now, because of the landscape that we're in with not enough people to do the jobs, employers are ready. They're willing to try everything, and they're willing to even maybe have a situation where it doesn't work out the way that they had intended, but to try again. So it's all about just being willing to put yourself forward and try something new. But I've also found that employers really, really love to learn from other employers. And that's why Workforce Wednesday has been really helpful, is because we have employers that are out there and they're sharing, this is what I did, these are the mistakes I made, learn from them, and then you can have this positive outcome because I already did all the work.
And the unplugged half hour is particularly valuable. I really love the free flowing conversation that you all have from 12 to 12:30.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that's an open forum opportunity for people to ask questions. You can come in and bring your own workforce questions that you have, and you have a team of people that are willing to chat it through with you. And that part is not recorded, so you can feel free to share openly.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. So employers, recruiters, HR, and talent acquisition folks who are on this call today, reach out to CareerForce at state.mn with your questions. You can reach out to me individually, liz.jennings at state.mn.us, or reach out to the workforce strategy consultants too. You can either go through the main line and they'll connect you, or go to one of the links on their webpage. So happy to have all of you on this webinar today, and see you all next week for our last session, session 8, about labor market data. Take care.
Bye, everyone.